week. Pete McGuire from XM joins us now live. Pete, great to have you on. Look, lots going on. That non-farm payroll number, pretty weak, wasn't it?
Underwhelming. Good morning, Kara. Yeah, absolutely shocking considering that the analysts we were expecting anywhere up to 900,000. 760 was about even money. So you have 500,000 less jobs in that month of August. Very, very weak. And you need to take that on board. It was the lowest in about 7 months. So that was really underwhelming. You saw that US dollar come under pressure and you saw everything else bounce as far as a currency trade. So, yeah, it's good for traders. Keep an eye on gold this week. Inflation and all of those sort of concerns are also a big issue, and the structural weakness of many of those economies.
Yeah, Pete, I took a couple of days off at the end of last week. When I left, the Australian dollar looked pretty weak, but it's now pushing towards 75 cents once again.
Yep.
I mean, have we rebounded? Is this the full rebound trade?
Well, it's certainly went now. You mentioned you're off for a couple of days. What was it when you were there? Was it 71, Kara, or is it nearly 72?
I think it was pushing towards 73.
Okay, well, there you are. So we're up the best part of nearly 2 cents in the matter of, your couple of days off. That's big moves to the upside. From a currency trading perspective, they're the sort of moves that traders just love. And there's always a bull market somewhere, and you don't need to marry a trade for eternity. You can be in a trade for hours or days, much to the horror of many long-term traders. But that's how people actually make money in short-term opportunities. And that's where the currency markets are certainly presenting those sort of opportunities in recent days. I think that there's further upside for that Aussie dollar. Going to be an interesting week, Kara. We've got ECB, Bank of Canada, and we've got the RBA meeting. So I think that that's the storyline, possibly a little bit further uptick and maybe a bit of heat come out of that US dollar.
Well, let's then drill down on some of those central bank decisions. Start with the RBA. What are you expecting?
I don't think any surprises. I'm not expecting anything to go from a 5 to a 4 billion per week bond purchase. So I think that there's going to be a little bit of they'll kill us with kindness. I don't think they're going to really change any mantra. They'll push it off till about November until we get another round as far as penciling in for any hint of a change. The next part, of course, is that the uncertainty with lockdowns on the East Coast are probably upsetting them a little bit, and different frameworks across all of the nation. Depends on who you talk to. Talk to people in Darwin and every day sunshine. Talk to people in WA or Queensland. Everyone's got a different viewpoint or lens that they look through compared to someone living in Sydney.
Well, Pete, let's chat ECB then. Could it be a big one?
Yep.
What's the euro doing?
Well, the euro are pressing towards that 119, so there's possibly a little bit, making up a little bit more ground there. Possibly a 119.50. I wouldn't be surprised to take a 120 out by, sometime this month. So a little bit further push to the upside. It's had a nice rebound, Kara, from that 117 low number that we experienced a couple of weeks back. Again, I'm not worrying too much about any great decisions coming from the ECB. But one thing you need to be conscious of, inflation's now running, and I heard around about 3% there. I think that was for July. So that really has had a big push to the upside, and that's major concern for any central bankers considering money's cheap. So how do they combat that one? How do you rein in inflation? Normally, you've got to be very careful what you do with an economy with a lockdown process and all of those things. Central bankers are really starting to pull their hair out, I think, if they've got any left. So that's a great concern for many of those bankers. And the prognosis, I think, towards the end of the year could be one thing, and that may be the gold trade.
And Pete, how does Bank of Canada fall into this central bank, huge week? I mean, they were some of the first movers when it comes to, predicting rate hikes, but have they tempered their expectations a little bit?
I think they have tempered a little bit. There's still Looney's running at about 125 and a quarter, Kara. So I'm not, again, expecting anything dramatic from that. I think it's just a wait and see process. I've read the notes. I've taken on board the policy announcements or the policy, viewpoints. And again, looking very unlikely to really hit us between the eyes with anything dramatic. There's possibly, again, further upside for that one as far as the Canadian dollar. So, from a trade perspective, maybe a few dollars to be made there, or keep certainly an eye on it. If Aussie pushes up, then possibly it'll take, the Canadians and the Kiwis along for the ride as well.
So, Pete, trade of the week, is it gold?
I think it's got to be. It's had a nice run. We've had a nice. I think I'm not suggesting this. I mean, we gave oil 2 weeks ago. It was at 62. We said keep an eye on it, and ran up around about 12% in a week and a bit. So that's not a bad game. We said Aussie dollar's got the potential to run. Keep an eye on gold this time. It's maybe an 1850 handle's achievable. Central bankers, as I said, are running out of ammunition. Do they taper? Do they raise rates? Lockdowns, jabs, all of these sort of concerns are really creating much angst from consumer. And the word for today is probably trimflation. When you're seeing all the packaged goods that you're buying that were 200 grams and now they're 180, that's the way around from an inflation standpoint. The price stays the same, but the product gets smaller. So I think that there's really concern out there from consumer land as far as what they're getting in the pay packet and what that creates as far as spending power.
There you go, trimflation. It is the word of the day. Pete, always great to check in with you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to see you, Kara. Always a pleasure.